Greetings, insiders. Today is April 3rd, and I have another really great marketing story that you need to know about. This week, have you been watching the creepy humanoid fruit playing Love Island on TikTok? Yeah, we've got some takeaways for brand strategy. And spoiler, this is not an AI episode. This is Ad Age Insider, where I'm taking you behind the scenes of the industry's biggest stories with the reporters who actually wrote them. I'm your host, Parker Heron. Make sure to like this video and follow Ad Age wherever you're watching right now so that you're never behind on industry news. Okay, so back to the fruit. If you haven't been watching Fruit Love Island on TikTok, the basics are that it's a very clearly AI-generated series in which very curvy and or muscular fruit people are seducing each other and sometimes getting into physical altercations over their relationships. It sounds ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But it has over 200 million views and 20 million likes on TikTok. So something is clearly resonating. Brands can sometimes be a little overeager to jump on social trends, but this is a case in which hasty bandwagoning could lead to consumer pushback. So let's take a second and think it through. I have Ad Age's social media and influencer marketing reporter, Gillian Follett, on today, and we're going to get into all the takeaways for your strategy. That includes the messy boundaries consumers have for AI use right now, the brand's testing short-form content series formats, and why you might just want to skip the Fruit Love Island trend altogether. So let's get into it. Gillian, I am so excited to be back in the studio with you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. You really blew my mind this week when you published this story about Fruit Love Island.
Yeah, it rotted my mind. I don't know if it blew my mind, but my brain is rotted.
Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of brain cells left for this podcast, but I am wondering, is your relationship to Fruit Love Island work only, or are you dabbling on the side?
Definitely work only. I was telling one of the sources I interviewed for this that I kind of feel nauseous every time I watch an episode. I don't know if it's like the ethical implications or just like the fast-paced animation. I don't know. Something about it makes me unsettled.
Yeah, it's all the fruit consumption. It's going right through you.
Maybe.
There's a really interesting tension here that I'm excited to kind of dig into with you, where I feel like the Fruit Love Island virality breaks at least my understanding of what consumers' tolerance for watching AI is.
Mhm.
Maybe your nausea as evidence here. But 200 million views on that thing. That's
Mhm.
crazy. So, what are we like misunderstanding or getting wrong about how people feel about AI?
Yeah, I was also very surprised with how viral it went just because, like you said, especially on TikTok, people have been so critical of it. But I guess sort of the main takeaway I found was that when it comes to like AI used for entertainment purposes, people are a little more forgiving. It seems like one of the sources I talked to, I had actually not put the pieces together here, but there was a trend a few months ago. It was Italian brain rot, where there were these sort of like weird creatures. Like there was like
Mhm.
they were like hybrids of things, like a shark with like sneakers and legs, and like an elephant that wore like a giant flip flop. So like, and those like got a ton of engagement. Lots of people making their own twists on them. There
Mhm.
were some brands kind of including them in their content as well,
You're
and that was
skipping out on Ballerina
oh, of
Cappuccina,
course,
which
how
is
could
the
I forget
best
her?
one.
So yeah, that was a whole phenomenon. It was like mostly entertainment focused, like people kind of just playing around with these characters, and that got a ton of engagement. And that was sort of like, I guess, sort of setting a precedent here for the the AI Fruit Love Island, because these are also sort of anthropomorphized AI characters. Um, and I think also just the guilty pleasure aspect of it, because people love Love Island. They love seeing like these people kind of fighting and trying to find their romantic match and all that. So that also is playing a role here. So just a
Yeah.
combination of the entertainment focus here.
Yeah, when I was watching, I was like, "Oh my goodness, these fruits are really violent with one another." This also takes me back even further than Ballerina Cappuccina, to, like, do you remember, like, the cats who were, like, cheating on each other and saving each other from car wrecks to the Billie
Mhm.
Eilish song, you know? Meow,
Yes.
meow, meow,
Yeah, yeah,
meow.
yeah. I didn't get as many of those on my feed. I definitely have seen a couple, but maybe that was your feed. Maybe you
Yeah,
were served a ton
it's
of those.
cats top to bottom anyway, so I was getting a whole lot of those. So Fruit Love Island feels like child's play to me a little bit at this point.
There was also a similar situation here with the fruit theming because one of the sources I talked to mentioned that the Fruit Love Island uses a similar or even maybe the same GPT model, like a custom GPT, as there were these like fruit soap operas that were kind of going on before this, like similar to the cats like cheating on each other and getting into like accidents and stuff. Like there was a similar phenomenon with anthropomorphized fruit. A few like I
Hmm.
think earlier in March that was happening. And people were like, there was lots of TikToks where people were like, oh my God, I'm actually just sitting here watching these fruits like cheat on each other. And that sort of led up to Fruit Love Island as well. It was sort of this like ongoing path to Fruit Love Island that we landed at.
Yes, the path we're all on, inevitably. I'm wondering here, something interesting that you kind of called out in the reporting you did about this. Is the trend actually watching Fruit Love Island, or is it more to post about Fruit Love Island, maybe
Mm.
ironically? Like with something like this, it seems the novelty of saying that you're watching it is kind of just as viral as like actually watching it.
Yeah, the conversation around it definitely contributed to it going so viral, I think, because I'm sure people saw videos of people talking about it and they're like, what is Fruit Love Island? So they went to go look it up. But also there was like sort of a fandom that kind of emerged around Fruit Love Island. Like there were some genuine fans who were like posting videos about like their favorite fruit couples and like there was a voting aspect to it where people could click on I think there was a link in the creator's bio where they could vote for new fruits they wanted on the island or ones to kick off. So that was also some added engagement there. But of course, TikTok being TikTok, there was also some critics, people being like, "Why are you guys rotting your brains watching this? Like we're doomed," like that kind of stuff. So definitely, there was a lot of additional content around it that helped it blow up as much as it did.
Yes, yes, and I'm only laughing so that I don't cry because it does feel a little doomsday.
A little.
It's interesting to me what you're saying here. Like the line of when AI is okay is so blurry. And I think a little spoiler for probably the point of this conversation, you tell me more about this, is the popularity of Fruit Love Island doesn't necessarily to have everything to do about AI? Or why do you think this specifically is going viral? And then I'll ask you a couple of questions about what brands might learn from it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't wanna get too ahead of myself because I think you're probably gonna ask about this, but I think the reason it's going so viral is sort of like I said, just like this desire for entertainment content on social now, like, I think we actually talked about this on a previous podcast, like, sort of the focus of social media now is going there for entertainment and not to necessarily connect with friends and family anymore, like, the social has sort of left the meaning of social media. So people are increasingly expecting more serialized content or more like just like, I don't know, brain rotty content where you can just kind of turn your mind off and watch people cheat on each other. I don't know, or fruits cheat on each other. Like that kind of content is sort of what people are expecting more and more on social. So I think just part of that overarching trend that's going on where like creators are putting out series that involve a lot more effort than AI fruit. That's also like an overarching trend. So that shift towards entertainment-driven content on social is, I think, responsible here, and AI is just sort of like the tool that was used to put out this content or this AI Fruit Love Island series so quickly.
hmm Yeah. So now I will ask you about brands, and you
Mhm.
can get ahead of yourself because I am going to simply ask if I'm a brand, I'm seeing Fruit Love Island, and
Mhm.
I, of course, want 200 million people to interact with me. I would love that. Is the takeaway for me to create my own version of Fruit Love Island, or what should I do if I'm a brand and I'm seeing this?
Yeah, I think you kind of pointed to the tension here as well. Like people, our consumers have definitely been a lot more critical of brands using AI than just like the everyday user playing around with these tools to like make these silly stories. And I think Rachel Carton, who's a social media consultant, put it really well. She told me that people kind of when a brand uses AI, there's sort of like a subtext or an implication to it where they could have been like they have the money, they could have paid a real artist to animate this, or they had the budget. They don't want to, or people don't want to necessarily support a brand that is cutting corners like this and like is just like trying to like work with use AI instead of working with artists in the pursuit of efficiency and
Hmm.
cost savings. So
Yeah.
I think like that's not necessarily part of the conversation when it's just an everyday user playing with AI. Like obviously people will criticize the fact that it could be or that it is contributing to like environmental damage when you're using AI for like, no reason or like not like a purpose. It's just like for fun. So I think that's definitely there when it comes to brands. So I think for a brand, you're not going to get as positive a response if you're trying to put out an entertainment series like this, even if it is, or if you're trying to put out an AI series like this, even if it is in the service of entertaining users, it's gonna come with that the baggage, I guess, of the fact that you could be working with real artists.
Something else that's interesting to me about Fruit Love Island, connecting it to other things you've written about, which would be creator amplification or amplification through creators,
Mhm.
is the trend that branded content is the takeaway from Fruit Love Island? Or is there a way that you're seeing brands more successfully, I guess, work with creators to be part of their content? Are you seeing more success one way or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen brands doing it both ways, where like brands will integrate into an ongoing creator series. Talk a lot about shop cats because I love cats, and I know you do too. Where people, it involves this host going to bodegas and like talking to people who work there about the cats that I guess work there, kind of just hang around there. So that will sometimes bring in brand sponsors, and like they're kind of just integrated like either in the middle or at the end or stuff like that. And like they're not necessarily part of the story, but they're surrounding it. And those have gone pretty well, performed pretty well. But then there's also examples of brands starting like net new series with creators. I think Converse did one with Amelia de Moldenberg, the chicken shop date host. That was a dating show, I think, but with sneakers, like a sneaker themed dating show, which is kind of made sense for her brand and for Converse. So there are success stories with both, but I think the overarching takeaway here is that people are enjoying these like serialized stories that they can keep coming back to and engaging with, sort of in the same way that they would like a TV show, but on their social feeds, and usually like quicker turnaround because it's a shorter episode typically.
Yeah. Have you seen brands? You've mentioned like doing things with creators and all these examples. Have you seen brands like independently make a short form content series that doesn't lean into creator support as much, but is just a brand on its own, making a series that people want to watch,
Mhm.
a la Love or Fruit Love Island, maybe without the AI?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a dating show necessarily, but one of the first examples that comes to my head is Built, which I think it's like a finance platform. I don't totally know the details. Sorry, Built,
I've never
but
heard of them. Yeah.
BILT. They have this series where it's totally just like I don't think they're involved at all like in the actual plot. It's just like this person who is new to New York and is trying to kind of navigate the city in her like early mid 20s, and it's like sort of just like a comedy, like just like a sitcom type show, I guess. And it has nothing to do with the brand necessarily, but it gets a lot of attention. And I mean, they're in the bio, but I don't know totally what the ROI is for them. But that has
Hmm.
done really well on TikTok. There's also one that's a little more niche. I know I mentioned Rachel Carton earlier. I heard about this from her newsletter, but there's this brand called Cozy Earth, I want to say. It's like a bedding brand, and
Okay.
they like launched this series, like a competition series. It's actually called it's like bed rotting, like that term where people just like hang out in bed for like wasting their days, like hanging out in bed on their phone and stuff.
Very familiar.
Yes,
Yes.
I'm a bed rotter myself, but, they did, like, a bed rotting challenge series where people, they challenged people to, like, stay in bed for as long as they could. Like, they brought them into the space, and they were like, "Okay, everyone, get into bed. You're gonna stay in it for as long as you can."
I'd win.
Yeah, right? But that also, like, got a lot of engagement as well. So, there are examples of brands launching serialized content without the involvement of a creator necessarily.
Yeah, love and respect to those brands. Is there a reason why I've never heard of the brands that are doing it? Is this like super new or emerging, or like why are we not talking about, again, respect to those brands, but brands that like are a little more mainstream household names? Is it just like fear? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year was the year where I really noticed a lot of these, like, branded series emerging, whether it was with a creator or their own series, like, independent of creators, so I think it's still relatively new, but I think we're going to continue seeing a lot of the emerge because, like we've been saying throughout this episode, that's kind of what people wanna see more and more.
I have a couple of quick, one could call them rapid fires, for you. The first one is, what is one thing a brand could take from Fruit Love Island and apply right now?
I guess we've said this a little bit already, but, entertainment should be the focus of your content.
What is one thing that they shouldn't take from Fruit Love Island and replicate because it will go horribly?
Don't just use AI for the sake of using AI.
What is the biggest mistake brands could make right now with AI use besides copying Fruit Love Island?
Using AI to make a post without disclosing it.
Is there a use of AI that you are seeing brands use in their social marketing that is successful, or at least not being called out?
Off the top of my head, no, really. I think what I have actually seen that's interesting is this sort of like pushback to AI content in the form of brands instead partnering with artists more and more. I think one of the people I talked to called it like proof of human or like proof of like or I think Rachel Carton, I keep bringing up her, but she called it evidence of effort. Content like that you can see like is involving an artist and like not hard work, but like effort versus just like using AI. Like that's sort
Mm,
of an interesting like counter what's the word? Like counter trend. It's an
mm.
interesting sort of counter trend that we've seen as some brands or some more people are using AI for content. A lot of brands are instead partnering with human artists as
Mm.
sort of like a statement, an anti-AI statement.
Yes. I did want to, at the end of our conversation, ask, you've just come back from the New Fronts, and considering the conversation we've just had about new things that brands are trying in the digital media space and ways that brands might want to start trying getting in more on this trend of entertainment and short form series on social, did you see anything on the ground at the New Fronts that is either helping brands do this or ways that the platforms themselves are helping to plug brands into these emerging forms of content?
Yeah, I didn't go to Tubi's new front, so I don't know if they talked about this, but at TikTok's, they didn't, but TikTok and Tubi, ahead of the new friends, announced this new partnership where TikTok is gonna help kind of like feed creators to Tubi to help like short form creators are gonna be making longer form TV shows and films for Tubi. And I talked to an executive at Tubi who told me that like while advertisers won't necessarily be able to be part of these series right away, like that's sort of their ultimate goal down the line is to allow brands to integrate themselves or their products into these creator-led projects.
Mm.
So that was definitely something I'm seeing in terms of how the platforms are trying to facilitate those opportunities for brands.
All right, Fruit Love Island on Tubi when? Is my question.
I don't know about that one. You have to wait for that.
My last question for you, Jillian, is if there's one misinterpretation that you're afraid a brand would take away from either your Fruit Love Island reporting or our conversation today, what would it be that they absolutely should not take away?
Just because people are engaging a lot with things like Italian brain rot and Fruit Love Island doesn't mean there's necessarily a place for brands in that conversation. We did see a couple brands like I think DoorDash and Slim Jim kind of participate in the Fruit Love Island conversation.
Slim Jim.
Slim Jim was in all the comment sections. They were having a great time. But I think just because like they did it doesn't mean every brand should. And yeah, just because something is popular in the AI space and like the kids are playing with it doesn't mean that you have a place there. You
Mm.
probably could get like some pushback if you're not a brand that it would make sense to do that.
Yeah. Let the kids have their things. Let them have fun. They don't need
Yeah.
you. Amazing. Well, Jillian, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. You're fabulous. And
Well, thank you,
thank you
Parker.
for taking the time.
You're fabulous too. Thank you for having me.
All right. I hope you found that conversation as enlightening as I did. I need all the help I can get with things like Fruit Love Island. So if you did like it, please follow AdAge and like this video wherever you're watching right now. I want to thank my guest, Gillian Follett, for taking the time to chat with me today, and I want to thank you for watching. Again, I'm Parker Heron, and this is AdAge Insider. Hope you have a great day.